Picture this. You are 15 years old, barefoot, standing in the cold shadow of a marble column. The night air of Corinth clings to your skin, heavy with the scent of burning frankincense and sweat. Flickering torchlight shivers across the temple floor, casting monstrous shapes that dance up the walls. Each step you take toward the bronze doors of Aphrodite's sanctuary echoes against ancient stone. The hum of voices, priests, elders, and masked strangers drifts through the corridors, merging with a distant, pulsing drumbeat. You're not here as a worshiper. Tonight, you are the offering. Your heart pounds as a priestess. Her fingers dusted with gold and ash takes your trembling hand. Her grip is colder than the marble beneath your feet. She leads you through a labyrinth of corridors, past statues whose blank eyes have witnessed centuries of secrets. Oil lamps flare, revealing painted scenes of lovers and gods. And for a heartbeat, you wonder if those ancient figures envy your living breath, or pity what is about to happen. You feel a rough linen robe settle over your shoulders, its sacred embroidery brushing your collarbone like a curse. The chanting outside grows louder, urgent, hungry. You think you know what's coming. Maybe you've heard whispers in the marketplace, stories of holy ecstasy, of maidens chosen to serve the goddess herself. Maybe you've been told it's an honor, a sacred duty, the price of beauty and piety. But your skin crawls with dread, because what's waiting behind those bronze doors isn't the loving embrace of divinity. It's something older, colder, and infinitely more brutal. Most people today imagine ancient Greek temples as places of peace. White marble, gentle hymns, scholars debating virtue beneath olive trees. They picture sacred prostitution as a misunderstood relic, a distant echo of harmless ritual, exotic but essentially benign. You've seen the travel guides, Corinth as a paradise of pleasure and philosophy, Aphrodite as the smiling goddess of love. But the truth lurking in these corridors would make modern dating scandals look like playground games. The real machinery behind sacred prostitution wasn't about worship. It was about control of bodies, of money, of souls. Here's what no textbook will tell you. When you're the one inside the temple, every myth falls away. The priesthood runs this place like a business. Every sacred act is a transaction. Each worshiper who enters offers silver at the altar, and the coins are counted behind closed doors by men with sharp eyes and clean hands. The girls, some younger than you, are paraded like livestock at market festivals. The ones chosen by fortune or misfortune vanish behind velvet curtains, their fates sealed in the flicker of a torch and the clink of a coin. You realize quickly that the goddess accepts no refusal. The city outside pretends not to see. But inside, nothing is left to the imagination. The rules are written in marble and flesh. No maiden may refuse the call of Aphrodite. Ancient travelers like Herodotus write that every woman must sit in the temple once in her life, waiting for a stranger to choose her. They say it's only rumor, foreign slander, but the law of the land leaves little room for doubt. The wealthiest citizens send their daughters here as a badge of honor. Yet those who survive the ritual carry a mark that never fades. You hear the stories in the bathhouses, whispered by mothers and sisters, of girls who returned changed, who spoke little and married poorly, if they married at all. The deeper you walk, the more you sense the machinery humming behind the ritual. The temple is a fortress, not just of stone, but of custom and law. Gold and incense mask the scent of old shame. The priestesses smile as they lead you onward, their eyes calculating, cold as river stones. You glimpse other figures, boys your age, heads shaved in the Babylonian style, dressed in nothing but crimson sashes. They avoid your gaze. Some are shivering, not from cold, but from memory. But here's where it gets worse. The further in you go, the more you realize that the ritual isn't a secret. It's a spectacle. The city watches. The hierarchy depends on it. Every coin you earn is tallied. Every shame you endure, recorded. The priests remind you this is the will of the goddess, but their hands never let go of the silver. Your family receives a portion, enough to pay taxes or buy bread for the winter. Some parents send daughters eagerly, others with downcast eyes. Either way, you are property, first of the city, then the temple, and last, if there's anything left, yourself. And as the doors creak open, you understand the final truth. The marble is cold beneath your feet, but what's waiting is colder still. Tonight, you are not just a supplicant, not just a sacrifice, but a commodity, marked, weighed, and measured by forces older than law and stronger than faith. The drums grow louder. The doors swing wide. You step into the chamber, and the world you thought you knew is left behind forever. You cross the threshold. Instantly, the world behind you vanishes, muffled by the closing of those bronze doors. The chamber is dim, yet your eyes are assaulted by details. A mosaic floor slick with scented oil, low couches draped in purple linen, bowls overflowing with pomegranates and honeyed cakes. Offerings, you're told, are for the goddess, but you know are meant for the living. Incense swirls in the air, sweet at first, then bitter, mingling with a sourness you cannot name. The torchlight flickers over faces, some hidden by golden masks, others pale and intent, appraising you with the cold detachment of buyers at a market. You shiver, wishing for the comfort of anonymity, but tonight, your identity is your curse. A priest intones words you do not understand. His voice is measured, resonant, filling every corner of the chamber with the weight of tradition. Another priestess draws strange symbols on your arms with a paste that smells of myrrh and iron. The marks tingle and burn. You feel exposed, not just in your body, but in your soul. Every secret hope or shame laid bare for these watchers. In the shadowed alcove, other girls kneel, eyes blank as polished stone. One meets your gaze. The emptiness there is a warning. You are guided to a pedestal at the center. The priestess whispers, "Do not speak unless spoken to." Obedience is purity. Her breath is hot on your ear. A heavy chain of gold settles around your neck, a symbol of honor, they say. But it weighs like punishment. Your trembling hands clench the fabric of your robe as the chanting grows, throats merging into a sound that seems to vibrate the very stones beneath your feet. It begins as ritual, but every act is a negotiation. You stand exposed before the congregation, men and women of every age, merchants, nobles, foreign traders, each permitted to choose, each clutching a clay token stamped with the goddess's sigil. The tokens are currency, not of faith, but of power. Each is traded for a single night's right. You see a girl, barely older than you, called forward, her mother watching from the shadows, lips pressed white with tension. The chosen are paraded, their names called in mock celebration. Coins clatter into bronze basins. The priest keeps count, voice flat and businesslike. But here's where it gets worse. The city's most respected men come to the temple not for worship, but for purchase. Herodotus, the famed traveler, wrote that in Babylon no woman could refuse, and in Corinth the same unspoken rule applies. The local magistrate pays extra for a girl he saw in the market. Strangers from across the sea exchange heavy silver for the blessing of the goddess. The priests insist this is tradition, but you see the hunger in their eyes, the way their hands linger too long on the gold. Every gesture is rehearsed, every humiliation cloaked in ceremony. The ritual is not an act of love. It is a display, a test of how much you can endure while remaining silent. As you are led behind a curtain, the world of the temple becomes muffled and distant. Here, the rules change again. The stranger is allowed to do as he wishes, for the goddess demands your gift. The priests say any refusal brings a curse. You stare at the wall, counting cracks in the marble, breathing the stale air as your own sense of self recedes. The aftermath is public, never private. You emerge, the chains still heavy, your body marked by oil and sweat, your hair tangled. The priestess presses a coin into your palm, a fraction of what was paid. For your family, she says. In the antechamber, other girls look away, some weeping quietly, others already learning to hide the pain behind painted eyes. In the outer courtyard, women gossip in coded whispers, eyes darting, hands clutching prayer beads. You realize that everyone knows, and no one will ever forget. But the truth is far worse. The ritual is not a one-time passage, but a system that repeats night after night, year after year. Girls are sent by their families to pay off debts, sometimes willingly, more often with the pressure of shame and poverty twisting their choices. The priests keep careful records: who has served, how often, how much each brought in. The richest families boast of their daughters' purity by day, while selling them to the goddess by night. You see fathers counting coins, mothers coaching daughters on how to please the goddess, how to avoid angering the powerful men who pay for sacred pleasure. Historical records from the 5th century BCE confirm the machinery. Strabo writes that 1,000 hierodoles served Aphrodite in Corinth, each girl a cog in a system designed to turn flesh into gold. The temple's wealth is legendary, so vast that kings and generals come to consult the priests, not for oracles, but for alliances, for access, for the promise of secrets kept or whispered at the right price. The sacred is weaponized against the weak, sold to the highest bidder, justified by the oldest myths. But here's what will haunt you. Even after you leave the chamber, you are never truly free. Your value, your reputation, your future are all shaped by what happened in those shadowed halls. Some girls try to flee, but the stigma follows them, a brand pressed into the memory of everyone who watched. Others marry, but whispers trail behind their wedding veils, making happiness impossible. The temple's shadow stretches far beyond its marble walls. Now that you have witnessed the real cost of ancient sacred prostitution, you're beginning to see the patterns hidden in history's shadows. If uncovering these buried truths resonates with your curiosity about the realities most would rather forget, subscribe now. You'll gain access to the next layer of secrets, ones even darker than tonight's ritual. And what comes next will force you to confront just how deep this system ran and who profited most from your pain. But even this is only the surface. What happens when you try to escape the temple's grip? Who truly pulls the strings? And how far does the reach of the goddess extend? The answers will shatter everything you thought you knew about ancient Greek civilization. And your journey into the machinery of exploitation is just beginning. You wake before dawn, the taste of incense still clinging to your tongue. Last night's ordeal lingers in every bone, but there's no time to hide. The temple never sleeps. You're ushered through another corridor, past marble columns streaked with the shadows of flickering oil lamps. The priestess's footsteps echo on the flagstones behind you, a reminder that privacy is a luxury the temple does not permit. Outside, the first rays of sunlight illuminate the city's acropolis. But down here, behind thick stone walls, your world is ritual, routine, and constant surveillance. There's no going home. Not really. When you return to your family, their eyes slide away. Your mother fusses over your hair, fingers clumsy, mouth set in a line of shame and necessity. Your father counts the coins you brought, weighing them against debts still unpaid. At the market, women whisper behind baskets of figs, and boys who once laughed with you now turn away. Reputation is everything in Corinth. Once chosen by the temple, you never escape the mark. The ritual is not a single night's event, but a sentence that remakes your place in the world. You are not alone. Every day, more girls arrive, some carried in from distant villages, others handed over by desperate parents. They line up at the temple's outer gate, hands shaking, eyes raw from crying. The priestesses move among them, selecting, instructing, promising safety and honor, then delivering them to the priests who count each new arrival. Hirajals, the sacred servants they're called. But among yourselves, you whisper the truth. You are offerings, bought and sold in the goddess's name. But here's where it gets truly disturbing. The machinery behind the ritual is vast, efficient, and entirely impersonal. Strabo, the Roman geographer, recorded that in his day, over 1,000 sacred servants served Aphrodite in Corinth alone. Each girl has a ledger entry, a record of her service, dates, patrons, payments. The temple's accounts are kept with the precision of a banker's book, overseen by senior priests and watched closely by the city's rulers. Every transaction is measured. Who was chosen, for how long, by whom, and at what price. If you fall ill or refuse, you're replaced. If you try to run, the city's laws deliver you back to the temple. Even when the doors are closed, the world beyond the walls ensures that the system endures. Your role is not secret. On festival days, you're paraded through the city, draped in new robes and garlands, made to smile for the crowds. Mothers point you out to their daughters. There goes the pride of our house, while muttering under their breath, "Don't let it be you next year." Men line the processional routes, exchanging coins and jokes, each one calculating which girl might soon be his. The spectacle is not about faith. It's about power. Who has it, who can buy it, and who is required to submit. Society's double standard is a weapon. During the day, the city praises the temple's splendor, boasting to foreign visitors about the wealth and beauty of Aphrodite's sanctuary. At night, the maimed voices whisper accusations and innuendo, making sure you can never forget your place. If you show shame, they call it evidence of guilt. If you show pride, they say you've learned too much from the goddess. There's no way to win. Every gesture, every silence becomes evidence in a trial you can never escape. The ritualized exploitation extends far beyond the temple. In lean years, when famine or war ravages the countryside, entire families are forced to make impossible choices. A girl's service to the goddess can pay off a debt, buy back a lost farm, or secure a marriage for a younger sibling. Sometimes boys are sent as well, especially if they are beautiful, especially if the family is desperate. Once inside, they too are stripped of name and future, their fate recorded alongside yours in the temple's ledgers. You watch the cycle repeat. New girls arrive, trembling with fear. Older girls show them how to walk, how to answer, how to endure without angering the priests or patrons. Some mothers, broken by hunger or grief, coach their daughters in the rituals. What to say, how to please, how to avoid punishment. You see fathers counting coins in the temple courtyard, eyes glazed with hope and shame. Survival, you learn, can demand the ultimate sacrifice. But what you don't know is the true power of the temple lies in its ability to normalize the unthinkable. The exploitation is hidden behind hymns and incense, parades and feasts. The city's elite, magistrates, merchants, generals, visit the temple in secret, then speak in public about piety and virtue. The law protects the priests and their prophets, but it offers no protection to the chosen. If you are harmed, your suffering is considered the goddess's will. If you protest, you risk the wrath of the entire community. Every attempt to resist is quietly crushed. The law is clear. Temple servants belong to the goddess, and by extension, to those who speak in her name. Runaways are hunted, punished, or simply made to disappear. Those who endure learn to hide their rage and despair beneath painted smiles and rehearsed prayers. Even as you grow older, the temple's shadow clings to you. Prospective husbands ask about your service. Some are attracted by the rumors, others recoil in disgust. Either way, you are never allowed to forget. In the quietest moments, you wonder if the goddess ever sees you at all. Statues of Aphrodite stand in every corner, cold and perfect, untouched by hunger or fear. The priests speak of love, but what they sell is compliance. The temple's rituals do not redeem. They devour, transforming living bodies into offerings, offerings into profit, profit into more power for those already at the top. And still, the system grinds on. The city depends on it. The temple enriches itself by it. And the memory of every girl and boy who walks through these doors becomes another secret locked away beneath Corinth's shining marble. But the day will come when the machinery stutters, when the gold runs thin, and the temple's secrets begin to rot in the open air. For now, you remain a shadow on the ledger, a whisper behind painted lips, a commodity in the marketplace of faith. What happens when the temple's grip is threatened, from within or without? When foreign laws, invading armies, or the anger of the desperate bring change, the system faces a reckoning. But in a world built on ritualized power, the cost of survival is always paid by those with the least to give. And your part in this machinery is far from over. You grow older, but the temple's hold on you tightens, never loosens. Each year, the rituals repeat, sometimes more elaborate, sometimes stripped down to raw necessity when times are lean. The festival days become a blur of faces and hands, laughter, and hunger, and always the same cycle of humiliation dressed as divine favor. In the winter, the city's fires burn low, and the temple's accounts swell with fresh payments. Your body is now both a relic and a ledger line. The repetition deadens you, but the system only grows more efficient. You see how the temple's power feeds off the very laws meant to safeguard the city. Sanctuary protects the priests, not you. Any protest, any attempt to refuse a ritual, is met with the same answer. It is the will of Aphrodite. In rare moments when you glimpse yourself in polished bronze, you barely recognize the eyes staring back. Someone trained to move through ceremony, without feeling, to speak the words but never mean them. But here's where the horror becomes institutional. Legal records from the era survive, written in the precise, unsparing hand of city clerks. They show that temple servants were listed by name, duty, and the revenue they produced. The wealth of Aphrodite's sanctuary became legend throughout the Greek world, drawing the attention of magistrates and foreign powers alike. When Roman officials arrived in Corinth, they didn't try to shut the temple down. Instead, they taxed it, absorbed its riches, and protected its customs under law. Your suffering became a civic asset. Some priests gained renown as reformers, not for offering mercy, but for devising new ways to extract value from the rituals. They expand the selection to include foreign captives, boys taken in war, and the children of slaves. The system morphs, adapts, survives. On some festival nights, you watch as the city's elite slip through side doors, avoiding the crowds. The priests assign them their own chamber, a place where the goddess's blessing is bought in gold, and the rituals are masked as private acts of devotion. No one speaks of it openly. Everyone benefits except you. But what you don't know is that even the most powerful can't escape the temple's reach. Magistrates and merchants are blackmailed with secrets. If a patron becomes too proud or threatens the priest's profit, whispered rumors begin to circulate. Stories of what happened behind closed doors, names attached to forbidden acts, debts called in with a single word. You witness one magistrate, a man who once bought your service, stripped of office after refusing a bribe. His wife vanishes from the city. His property is seized by the temple as payment for dishonor. You see, the temple's machinery is not just about exploiting the powerless. It is a network of control, a web woven from shame and gold. The priests keep detailed ledgers, but they also keep lists. Who can be trusted? Who is expendable? Who might one day need to be sacrificed to protect the institution? Each ritual, each festival becomes an opportunity for the temple to expand its influence. The city's laws offer only the illusion of order. True power lies in the secrets you are forced to keep. Sometimes you wonder if anyone outside these walls truly understands what the rituals mean. Foreign travelers write admiring accounts of the temple's riches, marveling at the freedom of Corinthian women. Herodotus mentions the system as a curiosity, failing to see the cost hidden behind incense and laughter. The truth is so woven into daily life that even those who suffer under it begin to defend it. Mothers who sent their daughters into service warn the next generation. This is our pride, our tradition. Without it, the city would fall. But the most disturbing realization comes when you see yourself beginning to believe them. Years of repetition make horror feel like destiny. You catch yourself reciting the words of the priest: obedience is purity, submission is honor. And for a moment, you wonder if it's true. You numb yourself to survive until you cannot recall who you were before the first ritual, before the first gold coin changed hands. The machinery survives because it cloaks itself in sacredness. No one dares question the will of the goddess, and so the temple's power expands unchecked. Yet, behind the marble altars, the real business is cold, calculated, and relentless. Documentary evidence remains. Records of payments, names etched in stone, laws that shield the priests but expose the servants. The more you witness, the more you see. The ritual is never about you. It is about the temple's survival at any cost. But here's where the hypocrisy deepens. You see priests who preach chastity and humility, yet barter for gold and pleasure behind closed doors. You see laws written to protect sacred customs that are nothing but protection for those who profit from your pain. The rituals become a shield, unquestioned, unexamined, so long as the city flourishes and the coins keep clinking in the temple's vaults. Still, you remember the faces of those who did not survive, the girls who vanished, the boys who tried to escape, the mothers who watched with empty eyes as their children were claimed by the goddess. Their names are lost, but the system endures, hungry for more. Every festival, every offering, every forced smile on the processional route is another stone in a wall built to protect the powerful from the truth. Even as the city around you changes, new rulers, new laws, shifting alliances, the temple remains, its doors always open, its machinery always humming. You realize with a sick certainty that nothing inside these walls will ever change by accident. The temple's rituals are not acts of faith, but instruments of survival, tools of dominance, blueprints for institutionalized suffering. And as the sun sets on yet another festival night, you stare into the darkness and wonder, what would it take to finally break the spell? Who would dare question the goddess when all the power in Corinth depends on her silence? What happens when the machinery fails? When the gold runs out, or the secrets spill into the open, or a new faith arrives to challenge the old order? The answer is coming, faster than anyone inside these walls is willing to admit. But before the reckoning, there is still a price to be paid, and it will not be the powerful who pay it. The world outside the temple walls begins to shift. Rome's legions thunder across Greece, bringing new gods and new laws. For a moment, the city holds its breath, hoping the old ways will survive another storm. But soon the changes reach even the innermost sanctuaries. You watch as the priests grow anxious, tallying coins with shaking hands. Rumors spread that the Roman governor will audit the temple's books, and the city's elite, once regular patrons, begin to distance themselves, fearing that exposure will bring shame, or worse, ruin. The festivals continue, but their meaning curdles. Where once you were paraded as living symbols of divine favor, now you're watched with suspicion. The crowds are thinner, the music subdued. You feel the shift in every gesture, every whispered conversation. Some priests preach louder, insisting the rituals must endure. Others begin to hoard silver and slip away in the night, abandoning their sacred duties for safety or profit. The rituals grow desperate, stripped of splendor, stripped of all but the cold transaction at their core. But here's where the system turns on itself. The Romans, uneasy with any power they cannot control, issue decrees condemning foreign rights. Suddenly, what was sacred is declared criminal. The city's new masters demand records, not prayers. The temple's ledgers, once a source of pride, now become evidence. You hear of priests arrested for corruption, families brought before magistrates to account for years of secret payments. What was once hidden in incense and song is dragged into the marketplace, exposed in the harsh light of Roman law. Historical accounts survive. Edicts from Roman administrators, legal records from the province of Achaia, and even letters from local officials desperate to prove their loyalty to new rulers. Archaeological evidence emerges. Temple seals smashed, offerings scattered, sacred precincts abandoned. One Roman magistrate boasts of cleansing Corinth of its impiety, but you know the real casualties. The system collapses, but not all chains are broken. The rituals cease, but the memory, the stigma, does not. You are cast out, a relic of a practice no one wants to remember. Some girls flee to distant towns, hoping to erase their past. Others vanish into the city's underworld, joining networks of those who know how to disappear. A few, desperate or defiant, cling to the rituals in secret, risking punishment for the sake of a ruined tradition. In the streets, you hear jeers. Temple whore, goddesses cast off. Those who once paid for your service now look away, unwilling to acknowledge the system they supported. You wander the market, head bowed, invisible and unforgettable all at once. But the darkest secret is that trauma does not vanish with the temple's destruction. The scars linger, on bodies, in memories, in the twisted silence that falls over any mention of what happened inside those marble halls. Mothers who sent their daughters to the sanctuary now forbid them to speak of it. Fathers deny the coins ever passed through their hands. The city's new masters offer no mercy for the tainted. Marriage is rare, children rarer. Some survivors try to find work as midwives, weavers, servants, always marked by suspicion and whispered shame. You are caught between worlds, neither priestess nor free citizen, neither honored nor truly forgotten. Yet even in exile you sense the system's ghost. On moonless nights, you hear stories of secret shrines where the old rites are whispered among outcasts. In the taverns, drunken men joke about the blessings of Aphrodite, never admitting what those blessings cost. The machinery has stopped, but its imprint remains. Every attempt at escape, every act of rebellion, carries the risk of being dragged back into memory, judged for what was never your choice. There are rare stories of survival. A girl who changes her name, travels to a distant island, and starts anew. Another who finds a husband willing to look past her temple years, forging a fragile happiness from the fragments left behind. But most live in the shadow of the past, their silence a survival strategy, their smiles masks to keep the world at bay. The temple's shadow stretches farther than its ruined walls, its rituals now secrets passed from mother to daughter as warnings, not as pride. Documentary fragments confirm this aftermath. Inscriptions scratched from temple stones, Roman court proceedings, the testimony of exiles forced to tell their stories before officials who cannot comprehend the true price paid. What remains is not justice, but erasure. The city moves on, eager to claim its new identity, eager to forget. But the survivors carry the weight of everything that cannot be spoken, a burden heavier than any chain of gold, a memory that defies the cleansing of any conqueror. And as you watch the marble columns crumble, you realize the final cost. The destruction of the temple is not your liberation. It is only the end of a chapter, the closing of a door that never truly opened for you. The scars remain, stitched into the city's memory, hidden in plain sight. What happens next? The struggle to survive, to heal, to reclaim your name, will not be sung in hymns or written in ledgers. But it is the only truth left to you, and it will shape every day that follows. Yet one question haunts you as night falls over the ruins. If every system of power can be toppled, who will tend to the wounds left behind? And how many more must suffer in silence before the cycle is broken for good? You return to the temple ruins years later, drawn by memories you can neither name nor escape. The marble is cracked, the bronze doors green with age, but every stone holds the echo of footsteps. Your footsteps, forced into ritual, shaped by hands that called it sacred. In the half-light, you run your fingers over faded carvings of Aphrodite, the goddess's features blurred by time and weather. Where once there was incense and music, there is only wind and dust. Yet the silence is heavier than any chant. You kneel in the courtyard, searching for something to anchor yourself in the present, but the past seeps in. The scent of oil, the weight of gold on your neck, the cold stare of strangers in a room where you had no voice. You remember how the priests whispered about destiny, how your own mother turned away, how your value was counted in coins and scars. In this ruin, you see not only your own story, but the story of hundreds, girls and boys reduced to offerings, their lives bartered for power and pride. You realize with a sick clarity that what happened here was not an accident of culture, but a design, a system built to exploit, sustained by law, faith, and fear. The city around you has changed. Corinth's bustling markets are distant, and the old roads are overgrown. But the true legacy of the temple is not in broken stones or empty streets. It's in the stories the survivors carry, the secrets never spoken. Some pass by the ruins without a glance, eager to forget. Others linger, haunted, unable to move on. You see the faces of former priestesses hiding in plain sight, their eyes wary, their children warned never to ask about the past. But here is the climax. You realize that the ritual never truly ended. The mechanisms of control, shame, rumor, legal threat persist, evolving into new forms as generations pass. Every attempt at justice is blunted by silence. Every confession is twisted into spectacle or scandal. You meet a woman, older now, who survived the temple as you did. She remembers the same rituals, the same faces lost to the machine. Together, you walk the perimeter of the sanctuary, each step a reckoning. She speaks of the law that branded her tainted, the lovers who turned away, the daughter she never dared to hold. Her words break something open inside you. Historical records name the temple, the ledgers, the laws, but they do not name the pain that lingers, the ordinary cruelty that survives in the space between ceremony and memory. You realize that the greatest horror was not just the ritual, but the normalization of suffering, the way a city could build its greatness on bodies, then demand that the victims disappear. You stand among the ruins, and for a moment, you let the grief take shape. You remember the lost girls, the vanished boys, the mothers who bargain with fate. You mourn for yourself, for the version of you that never got to choose. Yet, as the sun sinks behind the columns, you feel something shifting. Not forgiveness, not peace, but a fragile defiance. The story must be told. Even if it is only whispered, even if it is never believed, you owe it to the dead, to the living, to yourself. The world will move on. New rulers will come. New temples will rise. But the lesson endures. When power cloaks itself in holiness, the vulnerable pay the price. When suffering becomes tradition, cruelty becomes invisible. And the cycle will not break until the silence is broken. You step out of the ruins. You do not look back. The temple may be gone, but your understanding, hard-won, indelible, remains. You came into this story believing in the glory of ancient Greece, in temples of wisdom, and the romance of classical myth. Now you know what lay behind those marble doors. A system built on sacrifice, justified by gods, enforced by law, and erased by silence. If this journey has awakened your appetite for truth, if you want to keep uncovering the realities hidden beneath civilization's most beautiful lies, subscribe now. The next secret is waiting in the shadows, and together we can bring the past into the light. Before you go, take this with you. History is not a gallery of heroes. It is a ledger of choices. Who is seen, who is forgotten, who is sacrificed for the sake of power, and who dares to remember. Your willingness to face what others refuse to see is its own act of courage, and the next revelation is already waiting, buried but never gone.